Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Alchemize with Alanna show. Today, the topic is about breakthroughs. And there's always a moment before a breakthrough where nothing feels like it's working. I've experienced this many times myself. And in those moments, you might be questioning who you are and what even is the purpose of life anymore, especially with everything happening right now in the world. What you might be going through on a personal level is your old identity doesn't fit anymore, and the new one hasn't fully formed yet. So you're in the in between space. And this is where the real alchemy begins. And today we're going to be talking about that space, who you must become before the next level opens. So let me ask you something before we begin. I'll be doing a couple of audience prompts throughout. Where in your life are you between versions of yourself right now? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. Whether you're watching this live or you're watching the recording, we always check back at the comments. And it could be in your career, it could be your identity as a whole, maybe in a marriage, visibility, or the level of leadership that you're in. Are you trying to rush through it? Is something else to consider as well. Or are you allowing it to shape you as a whole? So just sit with that for a moment. So today, my guest is Adriana Keefe, and her work is rooted in deep healing and self-reclamation. I love that. She guides people back to their authentic design, or what I often call their inner authority, especially when they're in transition. And what I love about Adriana is she doesn't bypass the discomfort because she personally understands the messy middle after having lived it. We had a chance to connect before today's show, and we talked about how we are both going through another phase of this ourselves. And she has also walked through identity shifts, nervous system work, and deep somatic healing. And if you don't know what somatic healing is, it operates on the principle of trauma, stress, and emotions, and that our emotions are not just stored in our mind, they're also held in physical sensations in the body. So, Adriana, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Hi, great. It's good to have you. So, where I want to shift to is the topic that we picked for the first one, which is the identity shifts before major breakthroughs, because we all love a good breakthrough, but rarely is the identity death that happens before that or during it is that ever talked about. So, what I'm curious about is what identity did you have to release before your last major breakthrough?
Oh, my most recent one. This one definitely has to do with allowing myself to receive money easily without feeling
Mm.
like I have to constantly work and be productive. That is what I'm constantly moving through, yes, but like right now, that is the level that I am transitioning into next.
That's so bizarre because that is the exact one that I am working through myself.
Yeah.
In that, and with that too, I have felt as though, like prior to this, especially the last year and a half to 2 years, and really working on my marketing and my online visibility, is that feeling of constantly chasing. And it was exhausting to me. And so it's the balance of like, how do I still create visibility? How do I still work on my marketing without that energy of constantly chasing and that need to be doing versus me settling into the being of who I am and who I'm becoming? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Very much in it.
Yeah. So what I'm curious for you is, what did that identity protect you from?
That's a great question. So, well, I think I have to go back a little bit to the first layer of this that peeled back. And this was when I began teaching about human design. And I was first able to debunk the myth that I was taught that we couldn't get paid to do things we loved, that work had to be something we didn't like. And so I was very excited to see that I was doing something that I loved, and I built up the trust muscle that I could do something I loved and get paid to do that. So like that layer pulled back, and that was amazing because that was a big stepping stone for me. And now, if anyone is into astrology, I am in my nodal return. I'm coming out of the other side of it on the Virgo Pisces axis. So I went from being very structured and rigid and task oriented to literally just intuitive, deeply feeling, go with the flow. That's extremely difficult. And I can also see how it's such a gift because now, especially because I'm a mom of 3 young kids, and I get to really learn how to receive while still playing with my kids and still having adventure and traveling. But I can definitely see in my lineage where there's a fear for sure of if I can earn money that easily, my family will either be angry with me or they won't like me because of the level of wealth we receive,
Mhm.
fear of success stories that we tell ourselves. But definitely, like, what does that mean about me? And what will that make my family think about me if I'm capable of doing something different? Especially because I was always the black sheep of my family anyway. Does that make sense?
Yes, because I too am the black sheep of my family. So I think you and I have a lot more in common than we possibly realized. And what I
Yeah.
heard and what you said is, especially with children, I don't have them myself, but what I experience with them as well as with animals, by the way, and I'm working more in that realm, especially with horses. And I also am a dog lover and dog owner, is this experience of presence.
Mm.
You have to be present with them, and when we're not, it's hard to hide it with them, and they will respond accordingly, or even probably as children, being able to verbalize it, to call it out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can they're a mirror for me. When I am stressed and all I'm thinking about is work and the doing, I don't like who I am as much as a mom.
That's interesting. Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's in that mirror, reflection, it can mirror back to us. It's, it's what's not working, what doesn't feel right. We don't always know what to do in that moment because we're emotionally
Yeah.
responding or reacting. But it's a signal and it's a message, and it's just a matter of, are we paying attention to it?
Yes, 1,000%. I just saw Winter in the chat. Adriana's in tune with animals too. Yeah, I went to school for veterinary, and literally there's foster puppies in my house right now, and I am all about you. You connect deeper with animals when you are more receptive yourself. And I mean, this is why pet psychics, animal psychics exist. They've like really ultimately captured what it means to be receptive to such a light being and spirit.
Yeah, because they're sentient, right? They have feelings and perceptions. Although with horses, as I'm learning in my equine coaching training, they don't have a prefrontal cortex. I'm learning about their brain too in comparison to ours. And therefore, they don't have judgment. They don't judge each other. They just respond to the energy of the moment and the energy that they're experiencing from the other sentient being, which with us, we are, are we congruent with that, or are we out of alignment with it? And we're not always conscious of it.
Yep, truth. This was
Yeah.
actually the first year where I started to notice that I was in victim mentality and speaking really poorly to myself. It was like a new layer of my subconscious revealed itself this year. And I noticed thoughts I had to myself that I was like, wow, I never knew I had that in there, saying that I couldn't do it, that I wasn't capable, all of these things. I just never realized it.
Well, and that victim mentality takes different forms, right? So sometimes it's fraud complex, sometimes it's imposter syndrome, sometimes it's the gremlin, as we sometimes call it in the coaching world, of like the I can't or I'm not enough of something. And then the way it translates into our world experiences, then, then what does that prevent us from doing, achieving, becoming, because we become our own obstacle and we don't even realize it.
Yes. Yeah, that's the gift of noticing, doing this. I'm going to say work because it is work. It's making a conscious effort to pay attention to your own awareness.
What I love about that too is some of the exercises that we were doing even just this past week in my intensive was especially with horses and with animals. And I think that's an opportunity for us to practice with each other, living soul to living soul, is just the noticing. You said that. So just the noticing and observing, and what's this moment trying to tell me versus making meaning of it or creating a story around it that's not going to serve me, serve our relationship, serve, if we're working together in the work world, the work that I'm trying to accomplish with you.
Yes. Yep. I just saw a question of how does one identify a victim mentality? That is
It's a good
such a great
question.
question.
Yeah.
I'm happy to share mine from this year, unless you have something else you want to share.
No, you go first. Yeah.
So for me this year, I noticed I've always been someone who would write things down, and I preach journaling, but this year was a different type of journaling. It was like consistently writing 2 to 3 pages, just letting thoughts go to paper, and then asking myself questions like why. Like a toddler would just keep asking why. What's the ultimate fear here? Why? And I kept going deeper until I started to realize I was writing down these really terrible things about myself. Like I am just not capable. I was never taught this. I've tried for years and I could never achieve it. And so for me, all of these more subconscious thoughts that after even years of doing my own work didn't surface, they all started to come through with just automatic writing and just keep continuing to ask myself why, what's deeper, what's deeper.
I love that. Similarly, because some people, can discover it more easily from writing, right? Getting it out of here and onto paper so that you can look at it. All that to say, some of us can better understand it by just taking that pause, taking a moment, breathing. In those moments, sometimes we forget that we're not even breathing, and asking, where am I feeling this in my body, and how does it feel? Right. So it's like sometimes for me, if I'm feeling the victim mentality, I'm feeling disempowered. But what does that mean? How does it show up in my body? I'm feeling like I can't breathe. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling confused. I don't know what to do in that moment. And that's where it requires me to take a pause and just breathe and compose myself. And then I can, what I also consciously do is I sink back into my heart. And for some, that might sound a little woo woo, but there's actual heart science in that more information travels from our heart to our brain, then from our brain to our heart. It goes this way, and it impacts our parasympathetic nervous system. So in sinking down into the heart and just breathing through the heart, it'll not only settle any energy, but that's where we can get some clarity or insight into what's really going on for me. And then therefore what's causing me to feel like a victim in this moment.
Yes. And it definitely showed up like that, those physical symptoms for me for many years before I
Mm,
was able to put words to it.
that's super powerful. So one of the questions I want to ask you too before we go on to the next topic is because of what you do with human design. So you've explored tools like human design and other frameworks, not to label yourself, but to rediscover yourself. So what did these tools awaken in you that, say, maybe traditional self-development didn't?
Mm. The problem that I was having with this personal development journey before I found human design was a lot of different mentors and guides would say, "Well, what do you want?" And I was a child of a lot of abuse and a lot of trauma, and I was very disassociated from my body. And when someone asked me what I wanted, I had no idea. I had no idea. I was a shell of a human. So you could ask me a lot of things, and I'd be like, I don't know, or it would feel like it's completely coming from the head to satisfy someone else. So when I found human design, it gave me this blueprint, and it wasn't a personality test because I really didn't like personality tests. I was like not interested in that. But I just input my birth information, and it said all these things about me that I knew were true about me as a child. That I was this rambunctious, too big, too much kind of energy. I love to jump from thing to thing. And when that resonated with me, I thought for the first time in my life that I felt understood and I had a place to start. So for me, having that starting place of my human design, and it doesn't matter the tool, it could be astrology, numerology, doesn't matter what it is, but having a place to look at, well, I'm designed this way. How can I allow myself to feel safe in coming back to being this way? And so that was really my starting point when I didn't know what the starting point would be. I needed something that helped me see where to start that was unique just to me.
Yeah. What you're bringing attention to is this distinction between being and doing. And for some, that doesn't they can't process it because we're in a very doing culture, especially in the world where we have to earn money and we work and right. So it's more about the taking the actions and getting things done. And especially with what you want, it's like, how do you even know what you want without fully understanding who you are, where you are right now in your life? Having feeling connected to your emotional guidance system. Some are so disconnected from that. And so usually what they want is not coming from their own desires. It's coming from the wants and desires of the people that are surrounding them that are important to them, right? Sometimes it's parents, sometimes it's a significant other, sometimes it's loved ones. But the people don't even realize when they're speaking through the voice of somebody else versus for themselves. And saying that you were a shell of a human before, that's really powerful because it's like taking that shell or the armor off, if you will. That's really powerful to connect with yourself. And that's where it can become really scary for people because emotionally it feels very vulnerable. And yet, if we can transform the experience of vulnerability to something that's strengthening versus something that's weakening, or I'm opening myself up to being available to harm. That's a very different experience.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And that's where a lot of those somatic tools that you talking about when we first started came in for me. It's like, how do I create safety in my body to start to one by one, step by step, be this person that I used to be, the person who I was designed to be?
Absolutely. Okay, so to move on to topic two, another audience question. If you are currently experiencing some discomfort right now in your life, are you uncomfortable because something is wrong or because you're outgrowing what used to fit? It's
Ooh.
an interesting perspective to ponder. So, uh, what most people don't realize about this messy middle that we're referring to is that it's actually a sacred time. And that although it doesn't always feel that way because it's uncertain and destabilizing, it can feel like, did I just make a wrong turn or did I make a bad decision? And we can really doubt ourselves. So, how do you, Adriana, define the messy middle? Like, how do you know when you're in one?
This is my favorite. And like you said, it used to be my least favorite because it was so uncomfortable. It was, oh, my job wasn't satisfying me anymore, or everyone was making me angry, or I was feeling really tired and not so passionate about the thing that I used to be really excited about. These are all beautiful indicators of something's a little bit out of alignment. We don't have to completely like overhaul our whole life and be like, everything's awful, let's cancel everything. But if you just get curious about that and start to pay attention to like, when does my energy or when do my emotions shift when I'm doing something? Start to notice what's triggering you, what's draining you, all these pieces that no longer feel good. And this is, I used to, listen, I'm very fixed energy in my astrology. It's very hard to get me to shift and change. So I'm that person that doesn't like listen to the whisper or the feather. I have to get like hit over the head with something for me to be like, oh, okay, something really needs to change here. And I just get really curious about, well, what could be different? What feels like an energy suck and what feels better to do? What feels more desirable? And now this space has felt like you said before, I am in the middle of this right now. And where I used to feel really frustrated here, I
Mhm.
actually am so used to this process now, this darkness, this void space, that I know everything on the other side of this is going to be beyond what I can even imagine right now. I don't know the how of what's next. I don't know what's coming, but I know that when I just lean into like, okay, universe, God, source, whoever, like just send me, just bring me through this, show me what I need to know. It is like a magical ride of twists and turns and synchronicities and gifts that just show up that you never would have imagined for yourself. So it's when you're your energy, you begin to embody your innate power. Your energy is beginning to question what you've been taught innately because you know there's something out there that's better for you. Kind of like a universal test for you to step into your next level of self worth. And you can choose to ride that wave or resist it. And resisting it is going to feel a lot more sticky.
Yeah. So that reminds me of a mantra that I learned from one of my amazing mentors in my coaching journey. And one used to say, befriend the unknown. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something until that was brought into my awareness, I don't think I was doing. And then once it was like, oh, that actually sounds kind of fun and exciting to be able to do that. And with that, I want to tell the quick story about how I started on my path just a few months ago, because it's exactly what you were just describing. In the equine coaching realm, I was literally driving to a salsa dancing class on a Monday night, and I was asking for God, source, the universe, the matrix, whatever it is, like, please tell me what I'm supposed to do next because I can feel things not resonating anymore. I can feel things not working for me anymore. And literally, it just came like sort of a weird divine download. And I heard this voice that said, it was very specific, and I wanted it to be specific. So it was a bit surprising when it was. And it just said, you need to look into equine coaching certification programs and get certified. And I, and
Done.
I thought, wow, okay, okay, that sounds kind of cool, you know? And then the key is when you hear those messages, don't poo-poo it, don't dismiss it, don't think it's
Right.
crazy or weird. Listen to it and pay attention to it. Take some action on it, like one little action, and then you never know where it's going to go. And I did that the very next day. I started to research equine coaching programs, and here I am just 3 months later, and I've already done 2 in-person intensives. I'm volunteering at a horse rescue, and I'm very soon going to start working with some clients. So you just never know what becomes possible. And I love that somebody just said God's small voice is specific, still small
Yeah.
voice is specific. It very much is, regardless of what your spiritual or religious beliefs are, even if you consider it your higher self, whatever
Mhm.
is that voice or the message will come through if you listen for it and pay attention to it. Uh, but yeah, so before I say anything else, is there anything you want to say about that?
Oh, I would just say, like, this is such a transformative place to be in. If you are in this right now, this is where you get to learn new ways to create, new ways to channel energy or begin to channel energy if you don't even know what that means. Like, play, have hobbies that you haven't done in years. Literally, nothing is going to be as you expected or wanted it to go. So, if you just decide to let go and follow what's currently lighting you up or making you curious in the moment, that's where the magic lies. It's always this or something better. And I'm very excited to see what's coming for me because I have no idea.
Yeah, now yeah, exactly. You know, because the thing I've observed this happening for other people, and I kept thinking, well, I want that. I want that to happen for me. I want to experience that moment. And
Mhm.
boom, there it was. And I often say all in divine timing, we can't force it. We just need to
Yeah.
let it come while we still stay in action, but be open and clear. And the more that we can connect with ourselves, and really understand, am I just staying on the hamster wheel because I think I should? That's where things can really open up. And really quick, I want to address a question. Somebody said, I'd like to know, how do you rebuild trust in yourself after years of outsourcing your desires to others? That's really profound. And that's, again, I'm not a parent, but I see this with a lot of parents and leaders, by the way, who are in essence kind of compromising or sacrificing themselves, their own careers. And so first is the recognition that you're doing it. It's simple as that. That's what can create that immediate pivot to kind of going, okay, I see that I'm doing that, and then giving yourself permission to do it differently. So if I wasn't outsourcing my desires and I looked inward to see what my own desires are, what comes to mind, or what comes through to my heart, it can start with that. So I hope that answers that question. Yeah. So do you want to say anything about that?
Oh, I could say a lot about that. What's coming to mind immediately is that is exactly why I'm all about human design, because that's what it did for me. It taught me to trust myself. That plain and simple. It was like, how can you just play with the universal energies? How can you learn how to connect to your body? Because I did not feel my body. And if you can't feel your body, you can't feel your inner authority. So being able to connect back down and just start making the decisions and trusting that it's all a part of my journey. I mean, is any of this real anyway? It is
Right.
all just
We have no, yeah,
just
we don't
play, just
know.
have fun, make decisions, learn the lessons. You're supposed to learn hard lessons. So even if things don't go as planned, this is probably part of your path anyway.
So, two more questions before we moved on to topic three. One is, I'm curious from your standpoint, why do you think so many high achieving women, although this can sometimes apply to men too, rise quickly and then crash financially or emotionally? So, why do you think that happens?
Yeah. First, I see a lot of women who are building businesses, building, climbing the corporate ladder, whatever it is, based on what they thought they were supposed to do. We're taught to go to college and stay in that same job or career or industry until we retire and then die. And for most of us, a lot of humanity, we're actually not designed to just do one thing forever. The majority of people are not. So at one point, you tend to either just completely crash and burn out physically, mentally, all the things, lose the passion, and therefore end up walking away. But I also see that a lot of people are able to run into overdrive, hustle, grind mentality, build their businesses, climb the corporate ladder based on energy that's really not true to them. And at some point, their nervous system just collapses. This is why we're seeing so many people getting sick these days, especially with autoimmune diseases. There's a
Yeah.
link between that and work stress. And so at some point, your system will just collapse. And if everything that you've built has not been authentic to not just your own heart and desires and what you're designed to do and be, but if it's also just not authentic to your physical body and the amount of energy that she actually has to give to work every single day, then the business, whatever it is, cannot sustain. And this is why you see a lot of people who are making a lot of money and then they start to panic because they can't keep up with making that money and they have to basically build from scratch all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it becomes a pattern, right? And they keep doing it over and over. And then how do I get out of this? How do I stop doing it? Yeah. So, okay. So here's another question for the audience. To build something that your nervous system can sustain, speaking of nervous systems, if you slow down even just 20%, what might become more solid? Or what might you hear? What kind of message might you get from just slowing down? Because that's what it's going to require is the slowing down. So, in terms of building sustainable success through self awareness, what somatic or energetic tools have made the biggest difference in your regulation and decision making?
One of the first tools that I ever found, I found through a therapist years ago, and it's emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping.
Yep, I love
And
it.
it's one of my favorites, and I was trained in it, and it's something I still use to this day because it's so simple. It's the only thing that ever got me out of active panic attacks, and it helped get me off of anxiety medication just in general. Um, that being said, human design led me to the next layers of what I needed to reveal, and then the body caught up with tapping. Since then, things have gotten a little bit weirder for me. And I mean, I've gone down the whole spiritual path and I am a priestess. So my tools are a lot more energetic and spiritual, except for like going back to writing. Writing consistently helps me move through whatever it is that I'm going through. But if anyone interested in here is into something like movement type, I would say Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga releases a lot from the base of the spine, our safety center, our root, and our sacral. And so that has also really helped me just like calm calm down year over year. And this past year in general, I've just had an entire ego death, which was wonderful and difficult at the same time. And now that I'm on the other side of that, everything, it just feels so much more peaceful. So when things are falling off and when the rug's getting pulled out from under you, I really promise you, if you ride it out, everything at the end, it's just like, oh, take it or leave it. It's like the best energy you can be in.
Yeah. Well, somebody asked like how to slow down though. You just got to do it. You got to stop making
Mhm.
excuses to
Yep.
not do it. You know,
Yep.
because that's what it is. It's really excuses and reasoning as to why you're not doing it. So take a look at that first. And then,
Mhm.
what does slowing down mean for you, or a way to connect with yourself? Like you were just sharing it. Movement is definitely a great way to do that in whatever that means for you. So for me, it's salsa dancing. Years ago, it was rock climbing. And now it's just being with and walking with horses, or even a grooming a horse sometimes.
Oh, yes,
And
that's my favorite.
yeah, it's so peaceful in doing that. So what else did I wanted to? Okay, so what are the signals to know when you're building from ego versus a more grounded knowing?
Ooh, what a great question. I would first, if I were questioning this for myself, I would first ask myself, why do I want this? And sometimes if the answer is like visibility, or I think this will quote fix anything right now, I'm like, oh, okay, so that's not actually an authentic desire. I'm going to understand like what's beneath the visibility. Sometimes whatever's beneath the visibility is an authentic desire. It's like, well, I'm ready to grow my business and it feels sustainable. And the next right step is just like increasing visibility. But sometimes it's like, well, that's because this person, this PR person said that this is what I need to do in order to get to this next level. So just really questioning yourself. I mean, something we keep saying over and over in this conversation is noticing. It's the
Yeah.
awareness. What if you just keep questioning yourself and see how it feels in your body? And there's a difference between feeling uncomfortable, like it's stepping out of my comfort zone, versus everything about my energy says it is not safe, it is not time, it is not ready, or it just feels really wrong. And that just takes time to learn your body over the years. That it's taken me years to really feel that deep connection to what's a true yes and what's a true no.
Same, absolutely. Yeah, I've reflected on decisions that I've made, sometimes expensive ones,
Oh yes.
where, yeah, unfortunately, but hey, it's just, I guess it's part of that journey, right? We can't take any of this with us anyway when we go. So, it's it's the feeling that, like that have to, that urgency, and it's not coming from a real place of, it's like, is this life or death, really? It's not, right? So, and then it's like, do I have all the information that I want and need to make an effective decision? uh and there's some people that are really, really good at tapping into our vulnerabilities because they want us to speed up and commit to something when we're not ready. And if we're not careful and we're not connected to ourselves, then we'll do things to satisfy them versus to really tune into, well, wait a second, do I want this? Do I want this right now? Am I ready for this? Is this even going to be good for me? And to just take those moments to ask those deeper questions. And it's very different than thinking that when you ask those questions, are you self-doubting? Are you questioning, well, why shouldn't I be ready? You'll know. It's like if you really, really connect with yourself in the most authentic way that you can, you'll feel it in your body. And there's different places to do that, whether you feel it in your jaw, is your jaw tightening? Do you feel a tightness in your chest? Is your stomach feeling the butterflies? If you check in with your legs, are you feeling grounded or uneasy? Maybe it's up here in your head. That's okay too, because sometimes it can feel a little fuzzy versus feeling super clear headed about it. Do you relate to any of that, Adriana?
All of it, yes. And I just saw Jesse say, yes, my jaw. Yeah, our jaw. I mean, I'm a home birth mama, so if anyone out there's had home births or natural births, they tell you to like do jaw movements as you are birthing a child because the jaw is connected to your actual I was going to say womb space, but no, cervix, thank you, pelvic floor. And so when you're holding a lot in your jaw, I mean, women carry trauma in their pelvis. And so a lot of that is connected. And so I saw someone say like hip openers and all of that, that is all related to the jaw too. So your jaw is actually talking to you about your hips and your pelvis and things that we're holding down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I know there's some other questions in the chat that I wish we had time to address, but I'll come back to them later. after, because I know you have to get going and go pick up your little ones. So something that I want to pause here for a moment, though, because of what we're talking about in terms of this messy middle and the nervous system recalibration. This is exactly why I created my resolve session. And I recently worked with a client that I partnered with over time, but it's something that shifted for her in just one session. She had been struggling with a complex relationship at work. She was feeling unappreciated by a skip level leader, feeling judged and feeling like no matter what she did or how she did it, that it was never enough, even though she knew she was competent and that she was respected by her direct leader. She would still have these feelings from those interactions of just kind of feeling physically sick. So speaking of those in-body manifestations, she'd experienced it in her jaw. She said she felt she had sweaty palms, or that her body temperature would get dysregulated. I feel that way too sometimes. So she wanted to shift it from, how do I get her to respect me, to stop telling herself the same story. And she admitted when she was scanning for a negative signal that, kind of like in a performance review or 360s or in surveys that we have to do in the work world, it's obsessing over that one negative comment versus also looking at the 49 other positive ones. And she realized this isn't about me. And although that might sound simple, she shared how she could feel the difference in her body. She said it was night and day. She used to feel sick. Now she feels grounded, open, lighter, and doesn't feel like she's carrying everyone else's judgment on her shoulders. So that's the profound effect that this can have. And so if that resolve session sounds appealing to you, reach out and contact me. Okay. So in these last few moments, Adriana, I want to ask you a couple of rapid fire questions, if I may. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. One word or short phrases. Ready?
Okay.
A belief that you've outgrown in the last year.
Oh, well, I'm in the middle of it. I was going to say that money has to be hard. Certain amounts of money. I would say certain amounts of money that has to be hard.
I love it. A practice that regulates you quickly.
Ooh, breath work or Kundalini yoga.
Awesome. I love this one. A misconception people have about healing.
Oh, that it's supposed to be all rainbows and butterflies.
Yep, absolutely. Sometimes it's painful and hard. What scares you about your next level, and what excites you about your next level?
What scares me is the level of visibility. But what excites me is also the level of visibility, the level of ease, I would say, if I had to make them different.
Completely relate on both fronts. Visibility and ease. Totally. Okay, one word. This is the last one. One word for this season of your life.
Power.
Ooh, beautiful. All right. Well, thank you. So I appreciate you sharing this messy middle conversation publicly with me. And audience, remember that breakthroughs happen because we allow ourselves to become the version of us who can hold them, who can hold those breakthroughs. And to everyone listening, if you're between versions of yourself, you're not behind. Wherever you are on your own process deserves your respect. And if you're a leader navigating growth, transition, or increased complexity, and you want a grounded conversation to help shape your decisions, reach out, because one conversation can change a lot. So again, book a resolve session with me. I usually help clients in simplicity, although they're complex because it means different things. It's mostly about some sort of difficult decisions or a hard conversation, and we create movement for you. And I also created the Conversation Prep Toolkit, which is a complimentary guide to help you step into those moments with more intention, less worry or hesitation, and communicate in a way that lands. So sign up for my newsletter. Jesse's going to share that link in the chat, and you'll get that complimentary. And to stay connected, please subscribe. Join us for the next show. Leave a comment about what landed for you here, whether you're watching live or the recording. And please share this episode with someone else who might need it. So thank you for joining us for another Alchemize with Alanna, and we'll see you next time.